There was an old lady in the front row. She was miserable. She, like, her daughter had dragged her there. She didn't want to be there. Come out and do the show. And afterwards, she waits to say hello. And she goes, I just have to tell you. She said, my kid wanted me to come. My daughter's in her 20s. She said, there's a magic show in town. I should come see it. I didn't want to. She goes, I don't like that magic. But she said that you're in it and I know you from TV. So I thought, all right, fine. She goes, I had the best time. By the end of the show, she was laughing, crying. She goes, you helped me forget for a couple of hours. And, she was invigorated. And you're like, wow, this is what magic is.
Welcome to Face, a place for stories that shape us. My name is David Peck. Well, welcome back to Face. I am just so thrilled to be here with our guest today. I say it every week. Every interview that I've done, I say I have a very special guest. And I suppose at some point, you don't believe me. But really, I have a really special guest here this week. And every time I just feel like maybe we've taken it to another level. And Steve Valentine is here with us. And he is somebody that I've recently met and been kind of blown away by on so many levels. He's a magician. He's a writer. He's a producer, a director, an actor. He's got a lot going on the CV. I think he's at about 17 pages now on his CV, but we're not sure. We're going to get clarity on that. Steve Valentine here with us today. You're listening here on Face to Face. My name's David Peck. Please subscribe, share this with family and friends, socially mediate the heck out of us, please, and let people know that conversations that matter are happening right here on Face to Face. Steve, I'm thrilled you're here. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks for inviting me. I'm thrilled to be here. I don't know what's going to happen, but I know it's a lot of pressure already. So I've got to be I have to be not just a guest, I have to be a special guest. So I've got my hat on in case I need
You have
to
to be, well, I love the hat. It's
thank you.
Very, it's kind of got a military thing going on, doesn't it?
It's very Canadian because, as you know, we're both in Canada, right? And right now it's not exactly summer.
It's getting a little chilly, and what I've realized this year is that I'm not gonna risk it because of my hairline or lack thereof. I'm just gonna start wearing the hat on colder days.
It's Tuesdays. It's Tuesdays and
Tuesdays. Yeah. Well, listen, man. Thank you for saying yes and jumping in. And little bit of history. So some of you know, I think pretty much everyone listening knows, I'm a magician. I've been doing this thing called magic for a long time, and Steve and I share that in common, and I'm also the president of this thing called the Hat and Rabbit Club. Yes, folks, it actually is called the Hat and Rabbit Club. It's been around 80 years. The Sid Lorraine Hat and Rabbit Club, actually. Great history.
80 years.
Isn't that crazy?
That's amazing. Was it started by Sid originally?
It was not started by Sid, but he was in the original group. We can go back to names like, I don't know the actual history off the top of my head, but there is a great article that you can read about it on the Hat and Rabbit Club website, and you could even become a member there if you want. It's where this group of magicians gets together, they lecture, they share secrets, they hang out, they commiserate. And Steve came and lectured to our club recently. And do you know what,
and
folks?
You guys commiserated. Right,
and
right
we
afterwards.
commiserated. We commiserated. And I'm just going to say it out loud. Steve's like my favorite new magician of all time. I'd not seen him perform before, and just kind of blew me away on so many levels. Steve,
thanks.
So, wow, after that night, I would have said, you are just a magician. This is who you are. You live it. You breathe it. The passion, the energy, the focus, your generosity, all of the above just came out and just oozed out of you. And yet, as people do a little bit more of a deeper dive here, which I'm hoping my guests are going to do.
Yes.
You've been acting for years. You're writing, You're producing. All the, this, I was joking about the 17 pages, but I bet it's pretty darn close.
It's long. You mean like the IMDb is long? Wikipedia, most of the Wikipedia is correct. I haven't checked Wikipedia yet, but all in all, I do a lot of different things, and it's partially because I didn't used to, but I came to a realization in my life at one point, very, very powerful realization that, we often will take a piece of ourselves and lock it away in order to make everyone else happy. And it can be what we do for a living because, we don't get taken seriously because we do this, or we don't get to pursue something because they know that you're also something else. And there came a point in my life where I was like, screw this. I'm just going to be everything I can, like the army. I'm going to be everything I can be. And in doing so, kind of opened up this Pandora's box of all these different things. I mean, I just literally put on my wall, I have a index card system. Obviously, I often use when I'm writing, but for my magic as well, I also have every trick I have, even an inkling of a routine for. color coded on the wall, so I know that one's like a magic trick to music, another one would be audience participation, and another color is just for card magic, and so on. So when I put together a show, I can actually see the color-wise, the visual kind of flow of the show, right? I just did one for all the other stuff that I want to do, and it's nuts. I mean, there was acting, magic, writing. I had to put other because I'm working on a crypto thing, crazily enough. And what else was there? It was live, and there was something else.
And you kind of look like a skateboarder today. So did that make it up on the wall?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Got to cover all your bases, right?
I got to cover all my bases. Yeah, got to make people think I'm in an alley.
So is that system? So is it kind of like would you almost call it an idea generator in a way?
It just has to. I like to get it out of my head onto a wall, and so yes, for an idea generator. And then as I look at it, sometimes something will pop out at me, and then I was looking at live recently. I've got a whole list of things I want to do live, and I had an idea. So then I wrote that on another index card, but that was important to deal with yesterday. So I put that at the very top of the thing and then as soon as I'd done that, I can take the index card, I can put it on the list. So it helps me to just organize my thoughts. And I have projects, I've got like a book agent who really loves this novel idea of mine, but it's my first novel, so I have to write it. So I know that I've got someone who's going to represent it at the end, providing it doesn't suck. But, I did a whole big treatment for that. So now I've got to get into writing that. But I've also got this live venue concept for Toronto that I'm pursuing we're going after investors. And I was just working on music for it to create the ambiance for the pitch, right? So using AI to create this kind of cool jazz bar vibe, very sultry kind of sexy vibe, what I want for the venue. So there's that side of things. So I've got that pitch coming up. Live shows, like this, the acting. I mean, yeah, so it gets a little overwhelming.
You're a bit overwhelming, and I want to hear more about that. But you're also, quick shout out, you're also a teacher, and you've got this thing called Magic on the Go for magicians and people who are interested in magic, I would say. So check that out online. Just search Steve and Magic on the Go, and then of course your podcast.
Yeah. So
right?
Magic
Magicians
on the Go is
only.
really interesting because I got more out of Magic on the Go than I thought I would. I put out some teaching products on DVD back in the day, and then didn't want to do the waste anymore. So in the 2017, when these kind of online streaming services began to really take off, I thought, well, I'll do that with my content, and I had probably about 200 videos ready to go from the various projects
kind of
that I've done
on its own.
Yeah, right. And then I realized I had this amazing platform with which I could take an idea, a concept, a thought. As we read magic books and magic magazines, and even the theatrical things that aren't magic, you see something, you have an idea. It's not something that you can sell. It's not something I could put on a DVD and say, here's a trick for you. But it might be a moment, a gimmick, a move, something that's going to get lost in the history of time. And so I feel that, okay, I want to kind of save it, preserve it. And so I learn it. And then what I discovered was, as I was learning something and then teaching to the camera, I would automatically, and I talked about it in the lecture, I would automatically have a creative tsunami, but will just come from the side because I wasn't trying to be creative. I was literally just trying to teach as clearly as possible what I understood this thing was. And then suddenly the brain goes, also, you can do this. And so I would say 90% of the stuff that's in my show are variations of things that I learned originally from Magic on the Go. So it just grows in a way that is unforced and quite organic. And so I got a lot out of it. But now we have almost 1,000 videos teaching magic,
which is remarkable.
Yeah.
And you can buy annual memberships. You can buy monthly.
I do have it monthly. Yeah, we have an annual membership, which works out to a crazy $20 a month, which is insane. But some people were asking me for a monthly, and it's tricky because it's not like, I guess, like a Netflix thing, you can watch so many movies, come back, go in and out of it. But in magic, it's about secrets, right? And so if somebody just goes in specifically to learn as many secrets as they want in that 1 month, and then, so I was like, I don't like this idea of somebody just, because I want the people who sign up to be with me on their journey.
Right. You want the commitment.
I want the commitment, and because we're also immersing ourselves in these things, because there's always new, like the dippy magnet trick. Where Harbin's dipping magnet, which I saved from obscurity, and I worked on new handlings for it. And then I created a gimmick for it that, like 6 months later, I came up with an idea for a gimmick that would make it perfect for walk around. And so, if you were just in there for that 1 month, you wouldn't have got the extra stuff, so things grow and develop. And
well, and Steve, isn't that a comment on you too, as the mentor, as a teacher? Sure, it's about the monthly fee, and this is helping to fund what you do and make your living. My 2 cents, you are that kind of teacher. You want people to passionately commit to this and say, okay, I'm in this for more than just a month or two.
I get really annoyed with people who are like, I want to put an act together. Can you give me 5 tricks? And no, because you're not a magician. You're just, what are you, a parrot? At that point, I know that there is this whole culture of give me 8 tricks, I'll do this 1 act, and that's all I'm ever going to do. And it's such a dangerous attitude, because if anything goes wrong, or if you're in a situation where the light is behind you, or the wind picks up, or an audience looks up your trick on YouTube, what are you going to do? You've got no way out. We all know, you've been performing a long time, no matter how much you prepare a show, there are things that will go wrong that you could never have predicted, ever. And you have to be able to pivot. And if you don't have knowledge, you can't pivot. There's nowhere to pivot to. So one of the things that I really like to teach when I teach Magic on the Go is I'm always like, what would you do with this? How would you handle this? Like, here's how I would present it. So you get an idea of how, what is that mysterious thing that translates a trick from the page, from a prop, to something that intrigues and entertains an audience. And I try to teach that in everything that I do. But if you're just coming in for a couple of tricks, it's not the place. Like, you may as well just go to like a magic shop and buy.
So many questions. And we are so not going to have enough time here. This is going to be, I think, folks, this is the beginning of a 6-part series with Steve Valentine. So stay
tuned. Now you see me, oh, not again. Yeah, that's what it's
right.
called.
It's not Valentine again. So did acting prepare you for magic, or did magic prepare you for acting, or is it not quite?
I did
that
it all.
simple?
I did it all at the same time. So when I was like a kid, like 6, 7, something like that, I got into magic, got a magic set. Then I joined, I think I was like 7, I joined a dance company and learned dance and theater. And at 10, I joined a acting theater group. And so I would find in our Christmas shows that if we would do a lot of old time musical, and then I would get an extra 8 minutes if I did a magic show, and then I found I could make a little living doing that. And so when I wasn't acting and doing theater, I was doing magic gigs and vice versa. And it was fine until I got to the States, and then States kind of in Hollywood at that point in the 90s kind of made you choose kind of what it was. I discovered the hard way, kind of made you choose what it is you need to be in order to be pigeonholed and filed away for everybody else's comfort level. Now we live in a world of ADHD polymaths, and it's so it's like everyone's coming out into the sun now and going, yes, but I'm also this and I'm also that, and this is who I am. So it's always existed simultaneously. But I did take a break from magic for a long time because I needed to focus on getting the acting going. And then when I felt like I was established, I could go back to magic. And what was fascinating, Dave, was that the brain doesn't switch off. The subconscious doesn't stop. And a lot of the issues that I'd had with earlier props and routines, when I went back to it, I had solutions for, or different approaches for. And I looked at magic in a completely different way than I had before. Like, it came from a place of past mentorship awareness and just kind of, and the history that I realized I really loved the history of it. And it was just so much that was involved that came whooshing back out of nowhere. And that was fascinating. So you may think, like, as a person, I'm going to close this side of myself off. And, but that side is still growing. It's still listening. It's still waiting to be let back in the room.
Yeah. And if I could go a little academic on you, Michael Polanyi would say it's like all knowledge is based on kind of a from-to structure. And he was like a chemist who became a philosopher, largely ignored because he wasn't trained in the history of philosophy. But he said that in the laboratory, there's so much being communicated. That's exactly what you're talking about. As we talked earlier, this elbow knowledge side by side. And so I just so love that you say that the brain never shuts off. So work is going on, as Polanyi would say, tacitly. know,
Well, so
under
people
the
say to me,
surface.
it's true. And people will say to me, how do you know all this stuff about magic? Well, I don't deliberately sit and study. So what I do is I'll look for a specific piece. Let's say I did a project on a trick called Cards to Pocket, right? So for anyone who's not a magician who's listening, it's a classic sleight of hand piece. Cards vanish from the hands and appear in the pocket. It's kind of a lot of the great artists of the past used to say that this is the test of the magician because it's pure sleight of hand. You're in a spotlight. There's no getting away. There's no making people look in. It's a really hard trick to do. And so my old mentor used to do it and I decided to learn it again. And I started researching it and I started finding all of these different ways of doing it that people have approached trying to solve various issues over the last 100 years. And eventually this became this massive project called C2P, which is like 120 videos, which is now put as part of Magic on the Go now. But in the process, what I discovered was in the process of researching and like, oh, here's this trick here and it was published here in this old magazine or whatever. You read other things. You just don't, and then you soak that up as you're going, and then somebody will say something, it'll spark a memory, and I'll go, yes, I remember reading about that. This guy wrote about it in one of these books, whatever. And so there's this osmosis thing, which I think for me, I know people have different ways of learning, right? For me, I have to search something I'm interested in finding, but I will soak up so much other stuff in the process.
Yeah, for me, it's about, Steve, if I am hearing you right, it's a little bit about finding the connections. I've always loved that quote. And I think the paraphrase is you pull a thread here and you'll find it's connected to everywhere else.
Yeah.
Right? And
that part is amazing. Yeah.
It is amazing when you go, this is connected to that routine and this person, and there was a little bit of this theater and there's a piece of poetry here that bears down and there's this music. For me, I'm actually getting goosebumps. Like I love that side of the creative process.
I love it because you also see, as much as we think that we're so advanced in what we do, when you read the older magazines, which now are all fabulously digitized into PDFs. So there was one called the Magic Wand, which went for like 40 years, right? And early 1900s to the mid 40s, I think. So 2 world wars and a Russian revolution. The world changes as you read this magazine. What a great way to learn about history, because as there are articles in here, and yes, it's got like a magic slant, but you're first of all, you're reading concepts, problems, issues, politics that we are still dealing with today. People with egos, people stealing magic tricks, copying people's acts, the whole thing. Nothing's changed. It's just the people are different, but the situations are still around. So that was really educational. So that tells me we're not moving that far forward. Maybe the technology and the delivery systems are new and changed, but we still have the same problems that we've always had as human beings, right? And then you read these magazines, and then so I highly recommend this. It's so much fun. So you take this old magazine and you start reading from issue 1, early 1900s, and you see, and you get what's important about the era, right? The way they talk about the politics and society and class and what's available as a prop, or what's available as a material to make a prop from, and then First World War comes, suddenly steel isn't available. Suddenly you can't get eggs. Suddenly silk is being used for parachutes. And magicians are like, we don't know what we're going to do and so they come up with solutions. And then you get to read these articles by various people, and then they go to war. And then you get articles from the front, literally from World War. While they're at war, they're still writing articles and sending them back. And then you read an article that says this one particular magician author died during the Battle of Britain or something. And it hits you like it was happening today.
Wow.
And it
sounds like you got a PhD thesis in the works there.
You think? Yeah, I mean,
that's pretty fascinating to look. Like, for me, what I take from that is so many things, but context is essential.
Absolutely. It's super contextual. And then my son is, when he's really he's 10, and when he's really into something, he knows everything about it. The person who created it, the game, how a video game was created, all the characters, when the updates are happening, what it's going to cost, how his friends, and how he gets an extra glow and all of that shit. I can't get him to focus on geography. But if there was a way of taking the geography education and giving it the gamification that would intrigue a 10-year-old, he'd be so into it, and he'll throw things out at me. He'll be like, oh yeah, this particular rapper, I really love this rapper. He grew up here and he had this, and then he died of drugs, and then, and he'll have that information, and he's 10 and he already got that information himself. It's the context of finding a way in, finding that that little lollipop for him to follow is so important. They did that with Duolingo, right?
Sounds
with
to me
Duolingo,
like he's got the infrastructure already.
Yeah, he can do it if he's interested, if it doesn't bore him. And, I saw a talk by the guy that created Duolingo, and what made Duolingo huge was he understood that he needed to gamify it. So they had the character, they had you got your streak kind of guilting you into coming back. You've got all of these various things was so very important. And anyway, I know I'm going.
Yeah, no, it's amazing.
Tangent here, but
G.K. Chesterton said, "There's no such thing as an uninteresting subject, only disinterested people."
That's a great line.
You don't seem like one of those people. Is that wall? Where your cards are, does that continue to grow? And I don't mean just vertically, but is it growing horizontal? Like, are you interested? Like, I think, Steve, if I'm not a stamp collector, my dad was.
My dad was too.
I've purposely stayed away from it because I'm pretty sure I could get pulled in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean. Well, I find magic so easy to access as an educational thing for me. Like everything else, if I want to learn acting, I have to go to a physical class. I can't learn that from a book. Magic, I can study and I can delve into anywhere at any point. So it's a much easier entry point for me. If I want to learn writing, you have to like read these incredibly boring books on structure and character. And so for me, if there was, I guess magic by its very nature is gamified, right? We go into it and we find a trick and we do it and we learn it and we try it. And do we get points by applause? I mean, it is that.
That's great observation. Love it.
Yeah, it's a gamification of a subject. I can't necessarily go learn how to write a paragraph and then go get a reaction or make money from it. So it has. Sometimes I have to force myself to do the thing I know I need to get done.
Right.
Yeah, and then that's never a good thing.
Do you find your interest growing as you get older? With respect to magic, is it changing? Is it shifting? Like you say, you took a break. It sounds like that was for very utilitarian reasons. You kind of had to focus on the acting and so on. I wonder if there were other things going on there as well. Like, did you lose interest and then come back?
I had to kind of compartmentalize it and put it aside. It wasn't that I didn't want to. It was I needed to focus on other things. And then when it kind of came back, in a kind of very strange way, I got reintroduced to magic again. It just, first of all, I think I was in a better financial position, which enabled me to become a little bit more of a collector. So the things that I was able to get so what I did was I wrote this one-man show. It was my way of saying magic and acting and everything is fine together. And it's okay to be all these things. In fact, at the latest, I don't know when this is going to air, but right now there's a 2-part episode on my podcast, Magicians Only, which is available everywhere, but on the episode of House that I filmed, right? Which was why I played a magician on the episode of House. One of the first things I did back in the magic thing. And from there, I talk about how that kind of got me back. And then I created the one-man show and I wanted narrative and magic to be together. So this episode of Magicians Only is about the experience on working on the set of House and behind the scenes and all that kind of fun stuff. But also at the end of that, I do a monologue from the one-man show that ended up being cut, but it was a monologue that addresses the history of magic from the perspective of somebody saying magic is lame. And then I wrote this thing, it just came out in one powerful kind of like thing, which was like, we have consulted with pharaohs. We've helped your spies go on detective.
I can hear Kenneth Branagh doing this right now.
Oh, I'd love to see him do it. It's a monologue that just kind of says, show some fucking respect. And because it is an art form that's been around for thousands and thousands of years. And so that was kind of my way of saying, I appreciate you for what you are and what you've been.
Did you find that it wasn't respected in Hollywood? Did you ever shy away from, you shied away? Great. Steve's here. He's going to break out the balloons any moment now.
No, it was more like, okay, so I would do magic shows and then I would go to auditions and then people would be like, why are you here? You're a magician. You're not an actor, or I would be invited to an event and at a director's house or an actor's party or something like that. And then they would be, hey, Steve, do a trick for him.
Right.
And you just feel like a performing monkey.
Right.
And so I have people say, if we ever ever cast a role of a magician, we'll let you know, and you just kind of go, wow, people can't see past the end of their nose. And you can either complain about it or you can play the game. And so and even now, if you try and pitch a magic series to say Netflix, there are people at Netflix who are like, magic is a very tiny niche. It doesn't, and that's because they're thinking of magic as something just for magicians, as opposed to the Now You See Me movies have proven that, that there's a wide love of magic, that the generation nowadays, the young generation, thinks it's cool. They think it's a great thing. They enjoy watching it live. When I was growing up, you had all these cheesy cabaret places. You had to fight to get people's attention. They roll their eyes if you said you were a magician. Almost every magician came up with another term other than magician, called themselves an unusualist or a sleight of handist, or I don't know.
Yeah, an unusualist is funny.
Yeah. Anything
Sure,
other than the word magician. And
well, there's such a stereotype, right? I mean, even, close your eyes and what do you go to? Kind of tails. And I mean, Steve, I have never seen a magician pull a rabbit out of a hat. I've been doing magic a long time. I've watched a lot of magicians on TV and live and so on and so forth. Never. I've seen them come out of boxes and things like that.
Let me see if I can find this one thing, because when I was doing the one-man show, I wanted to address that.
Okay.
Because I was reading about, let me see if I've got it here.
It's just so fascinating, right? Because people immediately, the line that has always kind of irritated me is people find out you're a magician. And usually, not always, I'm not going to say always, but usually it goes to, so I guess you find the kids really love that, do they? It's an immediate, and kids do love magic. There's no question. I'm not putting that down for a second, but I actually think it's kind of a way of the adults saying, I actually really love magic too, right?
Sometimes it's because they've locked that part of themselves away, that part that we used to have that believed in possibility and hope and wonder.
That we used to have.
We used to have it, so we don't want to have to unlock that. So then we just deflect to magic.
It's a little too scary. Don't want to unlock that again.
Yeah. It's a trigger.
It's good. Love it.
So I think, because I've done shows, and I'm sure you have, where grown adults, I've had like guys in the audience, like 6-foot UFC fighter types, who have come up to me and they're like ex-soldiers, and they're like, man, you made me feel like a kid again. And they got a tear in their eye. They're like, I remember I learned a card trick. And now you got this massive guy that could crush me with one hand, who's got like a deck of cards, and he's showing me this thing. He's remembering.
Their hand is resting on their 9mm Beretta.
It's your card, right? But if you're willing to go there and open up that side of yourself, it's beautiful. I did a show where there was an old lady in the front row who I could tell was not gonna, I peek out the audience. She was miserable. Like her daughter had dragged her there. She didn't want to be there. Come out and do the show. And afterwards, she waits to say hello. And she goes, I just have to tell you. She said, my kid wanted me to come. My daughter's in her 20s. She said, there's a magic show in town. I should come see it. I didn't want to. She goes, I don't like that magic. But she said that you're in it and I know you from TV. So I thought, all right, I'll come down and all right, fine. She goes, I had the best time. She was laughing. By the end of the show, she was laughing, crying. She goes, you helped me forget. I had a shitty week. She goes, you helped me just forget about that for a couple of hours. And, she was invigorated. And you're like, wow, this is what magic is. And it's, yes, I love the impact it has on kids, that wonder when they see a piece of magic and it short circuits their brain. And adults can go there too. And more now than ever, it's accepted as a art form.
Well, I think, Steve, I love what you said about it being locked away, because for me, so of course it's still there. And I think somewhere along the way, I don't know what age it is, 11, 12, 13, maybe it's a little younger now because we've all got access, to pretty much everything. We can fire missiles from our lazy boy if we want to. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like we just have access. But we lose that sense and we say, no, there must be a solution for this.
It's
magic
not just that.
Can't exist.
Right. It's also all those people who expose tricks who are just like basically decimating the childhoods of kids, right? Of people who are just, because they are deliberately hurting the magician by exposing how the trick works. But again, if you read the magic books, this has been going on for hundreds and hundreds of years, right? It's not like it's a new thing. People have been exposing magic forever, because like we know it's an interesting thing. It's like, are you exposing it because you think people think maybe magic is real? You're afraid that they're going to believe it. No,
that's right.
You want them to know how it's done. So you're destroying the wonder. Like, I love that my son will still watch a movie and he'll see it. Like, we just watched something yesterday and it was an animal that died in the film. And he looked at me and he goes, they didn't actually kill an animal, did they?
It's good.
Like he was there and I was like, no,
So
don't worry
good.
about it. It was a trained animal, like when you say lie down, roll over. And he goes, oh, okay, okay. But there was a moment, right, when he felt the
So good.
power of that piece.
Yeah.
And had that had been immediately followed by a behind the scenes view of how they did that scene, he would have lost that. And I think the same goes for magic. It's like, let people experience it. And if they want to try and figure it out, they can. If they can't figure it out, they'll find someone to tell them.
Your comment earlier about how the brain doesn't switch off. For me, what I find fascinating is what is that seed doing? That moment that you gave to that woman who came miserable, dragged along. Oh, I'll come anyway. You're on TV. I'll come. Maybe I'll get an autograph, whatever. And then you knock her socks off. How does that now go on? That splash and ripple. Let's talk about that for a second. She won't. Oh, it must have been that magic show I went to with Steve Valentine.
No, she'll have a. Sure, she'll be maybe in a better mood the next day.
It's a beautiful thing.
Right? Or she'll tell someone, it'll be a memory for her. I got her up to help me in one of the pieces and she had the best time. And I think that will be a story that that's something she can, as they say, trade over dinner for the rest of her life. Telling everyone, like helping, she'll be able to impart that experience to someone in order to make them feel some kind of wonder by osmosis. It will help her. It will help her daughter her daughter who brought her to fight to bring her, that hopefully help them get closer. I mean, there's a lot of things
there's a lot going on as far as I'm concerned.
The ripple effect of that. I was talking there's a kid, Winston, he's a young manipulator, magician from Venezuela. He is killing it right now on the magic stage as a creator, as an original artist. I think he's one of my favorites. He's just doing incredibly original material, emotionally charged. And I just saw him at FISM, and he is in his early 20s, I think. So he's created a lot of things where cards come out of the mouth, where he eats them, and it was really, really good. So I got to meet him, and we got to hang out a little bit. And it turns out he was a fan of this show that I did for Disney, where I played a rock star. One of the things that we did for the character, because I was now back doing magic, was I said it would be great if this character, he'd always wanted to be a magician, so he loved doing magic tricks. So you got this rock star guy who loves doing magic tricks for people. And in that one of the episodes, I did the classic cards from the mouth, right? Now I'm looking around for cards. I can't believe I don't have a bunch, but if you see magicians do cards from the mouth, it's always very meticulous. It's very just kind of like that, right?
Right.
But the way that it was originally done and the way that my mentor taught me was very kind of like, it was just like regurgitation of playing cards. So you're literally going like this, and all of these cards are falling to the floor.
They're falling out of your mouth,
and it's going kind of ridiculously long. And so we did that in one of the episodes where he had this thing of doing that every time one of the other characters said something, he'd just turn around and go, and we kept cutting back and forth and doing new loads, and it was very funny. So Winston saw that, and then he from that said that he realized that that's how you do that. That's how you make that work, because of that kind of guttural, emotional, blah, right? And so that is how he's approached his magic. And so the magic he does is very physical and emotional, and it's out there, and it's not kind of very proper and contained.
Sure.
And so from that one episode he saw as a kid, that inspired him later on to create the style of magic that he's excelling at. It at least helped a little bit. So yeah, you don't know the impact of the things that we do, and the impact of magic on people.
Have you ever lost interest? Like, I saw you lecture, and it just, as I said earlier, I think the word I used was oozed. I mean, Steve, I think you love it through and through.
I think I fight that too. Because
sure.
I think there is that. I do. Do I ever lose interest? I was talking to a mutual friend of ours who we were talking about earlier, a magician who is quite an expert. And I consider him to be like one of the last masters that we have. And he doesn't like to go to magic shows anymore. And I asked him why, and he said, it just hurts too much. And so there are times when it's harder for me now to watch a magician perform, because not that I'm saying that I'm any better or great, but it, as an art form, like, it hurts to see it done badly. Because when we see it done badly and we know it can be so much better, and that audience, that's what they're experiencing, And for a lot of people, it's the first time they're seeing magic. Like I always ask an audience, how many people are here? How many magic virgins do I have in the crowd? Like I'm your first, sucks to be you. But it's like, that's kind of it's amazing how many people have never seen magic live.
It's remarkable to me. I was out for lunch with a magician recently, somebody that we may both know. And he started to show me something with rubber bands. And a waitress walked by and said, "Oh, what are you guys doing?" "Oh, well, hate to admit it, but a couple of magicians over here." So she leans in and he does the silliest bit of business with the rubber bands.
Yes.
And then the one band or the two bands sort of melt into one. Steve, I didn't watch the band. I watched her. You should have seen the look on her face. Like, this was a miracle. And she admitted, I've never seen a magician before. And I just, hang on, we are living in the 21st century, right? You've seen The Prestige, right?
Yeah.
Christopher Nolan. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything until they see it live right in front of them.
Until it's live right there. It's such a beautiful thing.
I always think that was what was so brilliant about what David Blaine did was he took he took the camera off of himself and he put it on the audience and they became the magic. And that's what changed. To me, that's what changed magic on television, was this idea of like, and it also kind of fed into what was coming with social media, with the me generation, with the selfie generation and all the rest of it. It's all about me. So when you do a magic show, but the camera's on them all the time, they get to be performative in the way that they react. I mean, I don't remember people screaming like they do nowadays for magic the way in the 70s and 80s. Then people used to laugh and enjoy it, but they didn't know how to respond. There was a comedian who talked about that in one of his acts. I think it may have been Pete Holmes. He was like, the thing, he's like, I can love a song, I can laugh at a joke, but I don't know how to react to a magician. Oh, that's great, you fooled me. I don't, it was kind of like, but now the young generation, they have a way to react. It's very extreme. They express like they're freaking out. It's okay. They're free to freak out and go, oh my God, I've never seen, this whole thing, which really we saw with Blaine's specials. Like that whole kind of attitude changed the landscape for magic. And
well, I think it's really interesting. I've been reading a book recently talking about the eye to the we, and we've kind of lost something where we've spent so much time now focusing over the last, I don't know how many years, let's probably say a couple hundred, I suppose, but we've gotten very good at it in this social media age of it's all about us. Like us as in individuals, it's not about the collective. And I think there's something, or can be something very different about a magic show. It's about that community, that moment, right? I'm sharing this with you.
Yes.
And I'm hoping you're going to come along for the ride. And I think
that's what you see, isn't it? You see when you do a magic trick for a group of people, they will look at each other. They will organically.
That's the hope so, I think.
Yes. Yeah. But you hope that they're going to share that moment between them. Did you see what I saw? Holy shit, and then that gives them connection. So magic gives them the connection. But again, it's all about taking the attention off of you. And it should always have been that way. I think all forms of entertainment should be self-reflective in the end. I
remember John Carney once saying to me, a very famous magician, for those of you who don't know, written voluminously, a beautiful sleight of hand artist.
Guy.
And saying to me, and I used to sort of do a classic manipulative act in the tails and so on. And he said, one of the things I just haven't ever been able to like, David, about manipulators is they're just kind of arrogant and condescending. And he said, yeah, exactly. I can do this and you can't. Right? That's so not what you want to communicate as a magician.
But who was one of the first guys who changed that? It was Cardini.
Right.
Of course. Cardini,
the drunken magician. Yeah.
Who was
or
drunk
supposedly.
and it was happening to him. And then
That's right.
It gave the audience the permission to enjoy it without having to admit that they were fooled.
It's so good. We need to give the audience permission. Speaking of, we were just talking about connection and community and disconnect. I saw The Social Network in DC. I was on a contract in DC by myself. No one was in the theater, Steve. I mean,
the movie, The Social Network.
The Social Network. So talk about irony of ironies, right? Anyway, great film. Love the soundtrack. So many good things to say about it. How can you not like David Fincher? But what are your thoughts on that? So movies as well, and connected to this, this is a community experience. Do you go to the theater to watch a movie? Like, everything's changed now. I'm getting on a plane on Wednesday to fly to Holland.
I don't like going to the movies on my own.
Right.
But what's different now is I will have friends say, have you seen this? And I'll say no. And then they'll say, go watch it and then we'll discuss. And that goes for TV shows like The Traitors, or, we have the ability now to delay watching something, but it doesn't mean that we've missed it, right? We're able to. So my friend in England is watching Traitors, the UK celebrity version, which is a fantastic show, but we can't talk about it until I catch up on the episodes. So it is social in a way. We're just not in the same room. I love being in the same room, obviously curling up on the couch with a popcorn and a blanket and watching something with, I love doing that with my kids. We had it just the other day. Complete surprise. I don't push magic on I have a 14-year-old and a 9-year-old, and I don't push magic on them at all. And my son has been more and more kind of like coming up with his own little magic tricks, which are really cute. Some really good ideas, actually. But my daughter was like, oh, they've got Now You See Me on Prime. I've always wanted to see that. And I'm like, really? She's 14. She goes, yeah, I always wanted to see that. It looked really cool. So we watch it. She loved every second of it.
So good.
And then last night we watched Now You See Me Too. They loved it. As magicians, we're like, oh, come on, that magic stuff is not, but they don't care. There was a cool aspect that the movies kind of jumped in on. The street aspect, the ridiculousness of the effect, and the young generation just loved it. But we were able to watch that together, and then every now and then we'd pause the movie, I don't know, pizza or popcorn or whatever. My son there was so many playing cards, Dave, on the floor because he was trying to throw playing cards. Like, that's the communal aspect.
Well, Steve, I think I love it. I mean, every time I interview somebody, I learn tons. And this for me is a huge observation, right? This idea that, okay, maybe you don't get the community because you watched it on, your phone lying on your bed, but it's the community that comes out of it. It's the conversation, the dialogue, the commiseration. You connect with others, because I think that's super valuable. And
so
I think
the water cooler has become the world, right?
Right.
What they used to call the water cooler conversation.
Sure,
that's now same W, but it's just the world.
Yeah.
And that's where we are. And I feel like there is a disconnect there. I would have loved to have watched, Traitors with my friend, but what the second best thing is to discuss it and later on down the line. And also when you've had a chance to think about it and had it ruminate a little bit, and you can.
And isn't that part of the reason why most magicians like to hang out together, because they're kind of connecting on a move, on a book, on a piece of history. They're looking for those connections, and they're having those aha moments. And
I think that's aha, but they're also in a group where they know they're understood, where they can share something no one else is interested in. And,
funny. Yeah.
We could talk, like before this, we were talking about gimmicks, right?
Yeah.
Very few people are going to be in. Now, my son.
Well, you realize that when we started out, Steve, we probably had about 10,000 listeners. We're down to about 12 right now. So we've slowly, we've lost.
Well, it's been lovely having you all here.
That's right. They've just lost interest. Man, so many places to go, but I want to go back to that piece that's locked inside. We got to wrap soon. And by the way, folks, it's Magic on the Go. magiconthego.vhx.tv is just
magiconthego.com.
It's just magiconthego.com.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, it'll transfer over there.
We'll get you there, and it's the Magicians Only podcast. It's everywhere. I've listened. I love it. There's so many lessons there. This is not just for magicians.
I was going to say, it's kind of, I kind of regret calling it Magicians Only. There was an element of irony in that I said it because I thought, well, maybe people would listen because they want to learn the secrets.
Right.
But at the same time, it's morphed into, it's not about tricks. It's about the way magicians live life, handle things in life, approach everything from business to friendship to educating themselves, handling the politics of life. And that it really transcends everything, everyone and everything. We all, even though it's a magician, we've all been in a similar situation, like when I talk about pigeonholing and I talk about a casting director I knew who cast movies forever, but they would never use her to cast television because she was a movie casting director. That's how she was known. It was ridiculous, but that's how easily people get pigeonholed. So there was a reason behind it. So anyway, so magicians only.
It's for everyone. It's layered.
It's for everybody.
Nuanced.
It is. And I get messages from people who are like, oh my God, that thing you said about that one show, the same thing happened to me and a horse I rode once. Or, I was at a meeting in a business office and this thing happened. And one of the things I'll say that I'm really kind of, as we're moving through the world, of all the changes that are happening right now. And I think that live is definitely one of the things that will hopefully, touch wood, survive the kind of this AI revolution, is that, live and authentic and in-person experiences are going to mean so much more, because you at least will know that what you're looking at is real up to a point, because then you also have the magic. But I think live is super important. I think more and more people are going to want to learn to speak. They're going to want to learn to get up in front of a group, whether it's a business meeting in front of 8 people on Zoom, or they're getting up at a conference and they're having to do a presentation or a business presentation. And what amazes me, but something I find quite easy to do, get up in front of a group of people. I think it's like is it like the second thing that most people are terrified of? I think
it's very high on the list.
It's very high on the list. One of the things that I'm starting to lean towards, and I talk about it a lot in the podcast, but it's like how to speak, how to present, how to be comfortable in your own skin enough to present on stage, how to handle an audience, how to deal with your nerves, how to speak into all the techniques that we need of filling a stage, connecting with a crowd, dealing with story. There's 2 episodes of the podcast that are just about story alone, where I brought in a story expert to talk about how to approach how we do these things. And that is where I feel like I'm leaning towards. It may be its own separate podcast, but we are doing a lot. I'm going to be doing a lot more of that on Magic on the Go and on in the pod world somewhere, because I feel like that kind of training is so needed.
You could do like a series on storytelling or a series on presence on stage.
Presence, or just how to walk on stage.
Exactly.
When I did the one-man show, I studied Sammy Davis Jr. and all these other one-man shows. Wow. And I should say one-person shows, because I watched a lot of female performers as well. But Sammy Davis has a very specific technique when you walk on stage, how he handles the rhythm of a performance, how he makes the audience think that what's happening is actually happening in the moment and is unplanned, when actually he does the same thing every night, how he slowly divests himself of his jacket, his tie, his waistcoat. So by the end of it, he's sweaty, his sleeves are rolled up. He looks like he's worked his ass off for you, right? All of these techniques, how he sits on the edge of the stage, how he stands at a certain point, how he talks to the crowd, not at them. There are all of these kind of techniques that I learned just by studying these shows, and also kind of what were inauthentic moments where it felt, oh, this story is manipulative. Like you can see the punchline coming a mile away. Like the audience can sniff out inauthenticity. And there's that whole thing about if you can fake being inauthentic, you've made it. But I think that I feel like there are a lot of the techniques of a magician and the techniques of an actor that can be applied to everyday life. And we have, for example, terms like hitting your mark. I know what that means as an actor. It means that there is a place on the stage that I need to land in order to be in focus, in order to deliver the best performance. So in life, what is that place for you?
Right. What isn't a metaphor really, right?
Finding your light. I mean, Jesus, sure. That is a powerful statement. What illuminates you? What makes you shine? How can we see you in the dark? How do you find your light? Like learning your lines, being able to improvise. All of these things are analogies for ways of life. So I'm going to be like kind of delving more into those things in order to help a wider range of people.
That's great. I love it. How to see in the dark, man. Okay, I think there's a one-man show in the making.
How to be seen in the dark.
So maybe the last question for now, because I really do. I'm going to have to twist your arm on the 6-part series, but maybe I can get you back for part 2.
We'll come back for another. Well, we should do a part 3 and have everyone freak out how they missed part 2.
They missed part 2,
but there never was a part 2.
That's right. I'm up for that. What do you think? What is it? What is it about the magic? And I don't know if it's a common thread. Is it a desire to believe in something? Like, is it a desire to believe in something else and something other out beyond ourselves? That whole, what's the poem by Browning? If we don't reach beyond our grasp, you got to reach beyond your grasp. Like for me, it's the wonder, right? It's just like,
I don't think it's conscious though. I don't think it's a conscious desire for wonder.
Well, I think it is.
I think there's a lot of different things going on with a lot of different people, but I feel like how magic makes somebody feel. We are very nostalgic these days because we are hitting an end of something. I feel like it almost feels like the beginning of a new multiverse in a weird way. Like I look back at my past and I'm like, it feels like it was so long ago, these things, these various adventures that I've had. like it was a different lifetime. And so there are things that trigger those memories that create nostalgia. And we are seeing it how many actors and directors and producers and writers have podcasts or are talking about things that they did. It used to be, you never talked about the past. You only talked about what you were going to do next. But because we don't know what's coming next, we can't talk. We don't have control with AI, with the new technology, with everything else. We don't know what's coming. So all we have is what we were. So there's more nostalgia in the world, and all of these podcasts, all of these actors. I'm doing it on, like I just did 2 episodes on House, right? So people want to go back to that time when they enjoyed something. It was a memory, a family memory, or whatever it was. And I think magic triggers that emotion, that nostalgic emotion. And maybe because we're in an information age, and maybe, I don't know, but maybe because we're surrounded by how everything works, not just magic, but we know how computers work now. I mean, there was a time when no one had a computer, right? Now we know we can do our own programs. We can edit our own film. We can do our own special effects. We can post our own content. For something to happen that we don't understand, just short circuits there was a term that Marsha used in our episode where you obstruct the journey and it goes in a sudden different direction, and that's suddenly very interesting to an audience. Well, that's what magic does. It's
like a paradigm shift almost.
It's a paradigm shift. It's a moment where you're just going down the street and then something impossible happens and you're like, hold on a minute. I'm a smart person. I'm standing watching this and I know what I just saw. That can't be. It does one of two things. It's like either this guy's just found a way to make it look that way, or there is something else going on. Creates mystery. I mean, I'll never forget some of the people on Blaine's first special. There was a girl who, I think he did Cigarette Through Coin, and she looked at him and went, "What? Who are you? Like, what?" There was almost this thing in her eyes of like, "What are you? Are you like a cult leader?" You know, there was this kind of like this vibe. So that, I think maybe we trigger. It's I wish I could remember the term. It's like journey obstruct, but it's not journey obstruct. It's some other term that she used. But anyway, it's a very important thing in storytelling. And as our lives are just the stories that we tell ourselves, I think magic interrupts that and then makes you feel alive for a second because you're not in control.
Well, for sure, I think you've tapped into something there with the mystery. That's something that continues to bubble to the surface for me. And the phrase I just sort of came up with while I was listening to you there, Steve, is that maybe some things aren't meant to be explained.
Oh, yeah. I mean, There are tricks that you and I know that are even better when they're explained because it's so clever.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And that's another angle on something.
And what a great metaphor.
Yeah. Yeah.
For this crazy, beautiful world we live in. I
mean, I think mystery is the thing. I think people want to believe that there is something more. I mean, look at the furor about 3I Atlas, which is that comet that's come in from an interstellar comet that is circling the sun right now. There are people who are like, this is a spaceship. It keeps changing course. It keeps slowing down. It keeps glowing more and more. It's like, there's all of this crazy stuff online. Hey, this might be something a little bit more than just a rock. And of course, there's a lot of people who are like, no, don't be dumb. It's just a comet. But there's so much interest in it because maybe we want something more. And I think that magic gives you something more just for a moment. How's that for a soundbite?
I hate to end this conversation. I really do. It's this is one more unfinished conversation that I've had over the last 10, 11, 12 years. Steve, what a pleasure, man, having you on the show. Steve Valentine, magiconthego.com, Magicians Only podcast. He's kind of all over the internet, and you can find him on television screens pretty much everywhere, I think, too, Steve.
Yeah, just go to stevevalentine.com. It's all there, and it'll direct you wherever you want to go.
I like it.
Yeah.
Wherever, Steve? Is it really wherever I want to go?
We'll see.
We'll see. Thanks for joining me here on Face to Face. It's been a pleasure having you. Please subscribe, share this with family and friends. And part 3 is going to be coming up in the very, very near future.
Thank you. Cheers, Dave.